banking, nonprofits. When you manage contract management, every company needs it. So almost every segment of the market is going to be using some sort of a platform or disk or Excel or something in order to know where are their contracts, what's the liability, when they renew, how much are they, and all that. Somebody has to manage it. Otherwise, you'll be losing more than 5 to 7% of your net income every year.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you go to our website, OpenSourceInc.com or OpenSourceCM.com, you can see some of the value that we bring into these particular markets, especially in the enterprise world, where it's really complicated and expensive. We do this in a very easy and very cost-effective way.
Okay. In terms of the customers you have coming in right now, I see you got LexisNexis. That's an awesome brand name. How did you get these customers? Like, what's your main source of customer acquisition?
Well, the customers that we have today, most of the customers came in through references and word to mouth. When general counsels see that they have a really good platform, they kind of share it with other general counsels.
Mm-hmm.
So they have groups on LinkedIn and they have all kinds of groups they're organizing. CFO, for example, or IT directors, when they need to answer for the demand for the legal department, then they will be creating that request for us. In the pharmaceutical and healthcare industry, as well as banking, the demand is for certification for SOC2, for HIPAA, for GDPR.
Mm-hmm.
And that's from the IT cybersecurity department. And the CFO are going to benefit from efficiency.
Yeah.
So cost structure is, when you look at contract management in corporation, the legal department is a cost structure. It's not revenue making. It's just cost you money to manage.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so if you can reduce the team from 50 to 20 or from 50 to 5, you can see that the CFO is interested, the general counsel is interested in controlling the contracts, the liabilities, the renewals, and all the stuff, the life cycle of the contract, of course. The CEO needs to know that information because of Sarbanes-Oxley and the regulations around that. So if you run a company, you need to know the liabilities you have in your contracts. And if it shows up and you didn't know about it, it doesn't release you from the responsibility. So you can see that there are 4 personas that are really interested in solving problems. The contract managers is efficiency, legal department is a certification, IT and cybersecurity in, as well as, I would call it some sort of, I'd say floating the information to the CEO has a sort of a transparency capabilities to it.
Okay.
So the transparency within the organization creates this efficiency because you don't have to chase an email and the right version and the right this and the right Excel. The guy's on vacation, have to wait till they come back. The whole thing is just a mess.
Yeah.
Here, everything is here and there's transparency in it. If you belong to a role that somebody in that role is on vacation, you can take part in that process, in that workflow. So now you start seeing that we talk about workflow, efficiency, transparency, regulation, QA, finance. It's all one layer after another build up when you have that capabilities.
Okay, I understand. If you had to pick, let's say, one vertical or one segment of the customers you have that you think see the most value right away, and you can kind of create as a champion and leverage that relationship into other departments, which use case would you pick?
I think that if you have a champion, regardless of the vertical that this company is in, we can build a really good story for them. If you have a champion that represents the difficulty the company has in maintaining, for example, transparency or maintaining cybersecurity, in making it more efficient to run contracts. Because imagine what it is when you don't have a platform. You need to create a contract. You need to send an email to somebody to review that and approve it or look at it. Then you need to send it to the vendor for red line negotiation. And by the time he gets back from them, the whole thing is an Excel or Word attachment, and you never have the latest version, whatever it is, a story that they. So that's where you can see the value pop up really easy. Because when you do have a platform like this, imagine you didn't have email in your organization.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? You had to send letters. It's like, okay, everything will take much, much longer, right? You send a fax, you get a fax. Now you have e-signature. You have everything is in minutes versus weeks or months. And the benefit from that is straight to the bottom line. It makes everything more efficient, more profitable. So you can choose the champion in pharmaceuticals, for example, that would understand their internal process of creating documents, managing documents, and reviewing them and signing them, and the whole thing. Could be with developers, could be with customers, could be with markets, could be with everything that they need to do in pharmaceutical, right? Including patents and managing the patents and all that. So now you see that this is a very effective tool for a company that has a large set of documents. Now, the benefit that you have in the back door, it's not only contract. Everything attached to the contract, all the amendments, all the pictures, all the reports, whatever you need to have available when you negotiate a contract, it's also available.
Okay.
And when you create a role or a group, then the group has a meaningful batch of contract that they need to work on. They don't need to look at someone else's contracts. So you have access right management to help you create a workflow that doesn't take your users to get lost in the system that is really large.
Okay. So it's essentially like a much more comprehensive version of something like DocuSign, where you can have multiple file attachments. And so for more, the value increases when the contracts increase in complexity and in number.
Yeah, DocuSign is one of our partners. We use DocuSign for e-signature. But e-signature is only one step out of many steps in the workflow or the life cycle of a contract. Because you need to create it from a template. You need to maintain the data, right? Who's the customer? How much did we do? What dates? What values? Everything in the contract needs to be in some sort of a term sheet, we call it. So you have all the information that represent what's in the contract, and the legal department can mess around with the legal words. The finance department also cares about the database and the information in the database, the values, the liabilities, and whatever it is, the regulation that they need to cover, right? There's two things here. There's the legal language and there is the data, and the data is really where the business is. So we're actually talking to the business owners, and the data, the legal department, they just get a tool to do everything more efficient. But really the value, business intelligence, rises up to the general counsel, CFO, and CEO.
Okay, I think I understand. So when there's coordination between different departments too, that's when the value increases. So there's value for legal, there's value for IT. Do you sell to like CROs or sales managers at all too? Like is that to like chief revenue officers, like for in terms of sales contracts, or is it?
Yeah, the chief revenue, you can see that revenue management companies are basically adding a financial application on top of the contract management.
Financial application, okay.
Right, so this is what a financial application will do. They know they need the contract because you can't run financials without the actual contract, right? So at the beginning, they only have a disk. They have the financial application like NetSuite and others. Now, what we do with this, we have an API library that allows us to connect to any financial application you have and connect the two applications in such a way that the metadata that we have in the contract is available for the finance department. Okay. This way, you link through API the applications, and now it's synced. So finance always have the most updated information. and legal and operation and cybersecurity also are controlling that. So it's a benefit that rises up when you do something like building a platform with such a feature.
Okay, so it's a lot more comprehensive, managing across different platforms, clients will have the data. So you basically like you're managing a contract, like a project across different departments, and then this can increase the efficiency of legal departments also.
Every department has their own group, their own roles.
Yeah.
They get their own notification. They see their own report. They see their own data, because HR department needs to see different data on the contract that they have with the employees versus selling to a vendor or a partner or a customer or anybody else, right? So every division, and right now we have insurance companies with 4 divisions, a $20 billion company, maybe 30 now. Huge company that have 4 big divisions. Every division has its own thing they do. And so they look at it and they goes, okay, how do we make this whole thing make sense? Right? So we don't have to have all these training because you got to train hundreds of people, and that costs more money than the application itself.
Yeah, no.
Right? So how do I take away the training? How do I make it simple? How do I unify the process? How do I limit the users to only what they need to do rather than send them into this cloud to look for what to do?
Long email threads or
create a workflow. Okay, I click here, then I click that, then I click this, and I'm done. Instead of writing again and again and then having mistakes and putting the data in. The whole idea is to make sure that the data is always secure, is always true. And that's where the report becomes really a valuable tool for the CFO and CEO. So making a change in the legal department does require executive interference. It's not something that you can, IT just says, okay, you can add that tool and nobody would care, just the legal department. It's a business-centric application. It's in the middle of the company. Everybody is influenced by it. This is not just, okay, add another tool to the calendar or some sort of a security this, security that. This is really where the rubber meets the road. This is where the CFO and CEO needs to be involved. And they need to understand the value and they need to understand their difficulties. And they do in most cases. The approach that we have to this until today was to float up the difficulties that our current customers were saying were challenging for them. And when you go to the OpenSourceCM.com landing page, you can see some of the reduction of that, some of the very fine notes for the different personas that we have.